this thing because we need to get them rebuilt. So let's do that. If you guys look right here, you could probably see all that oily residue. I cleaned them as best as I could up in here with a little Risk Racing fork seal saver, whatever, and it's not doing the trick. They definitely need replacing, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna yank these off, and while I have these wheels and tires off, we're gonna go ahead and put the Nitro Mousse in these things. Let me show you what those are. So what we have here are a set of Nitro Mousse Gen 2 nitrogen energized solid foam inner tube.
In the quiet words of the Virgin Mary, come again.
Basically all that means is we got a giant foam donut. It's pretty solid. Think of it like tire blocks. I've never installed one of these. I've had to have tire blocks installed because they're kind of a pain. I've only done tire spines before, but these are supposed to feel like 10 to 12 pounds of air in a tire, and this is just solid. It fills up the whole tire, so you have no air in it. You got to plug off the little air hole, and you have to run your rim locks. So in dirt bikes, they just have like a little rim lock that sits inside the wheel, and when you get the tire mounted, then you tighten up that rim lock and it pinches the beads against the edge of the wheel, basically to hold things on there. So you need that to make sure the tires don't rotate and then ruin these things. And then over time, these degrade, but you got to lube these up before you put them in, and then that lube helps basically slide this thing into the tire and then the tire onto the wheel and then get everything set in there, whatever. The problem is after a while, they start to break down and soften up a lot. You can cut them and add another piece to help them basically regain that hard feeling. But yeah, they're a pretty good way to go. Just a run flat system, especially if you're running in the desert. Good way to go. And there it is. Yep. So there's our little bottle of lube. It's like pure silicone gel, and then a little bit of instructions to kind of help you get these things in there. It shouldn't be too big of a job. That might be famous last words, I don't know. But we're gonna get those things in there while we've got the forks off. Forks are getting worked on, and then we'll pop these things in there. So this thing's pretty much desert ready after that. Then I just gotta go through and change the oil. Just a couple 17 mils. There we go. Now, let's undo the pinch bolts. Oh, come on. Gently. There. One. Tells me right here on the triple clamp, torque setting, 12 Newton meters. I'll translate that to standard later. All right. Nice. One. All right. And then we'll hang this out of the way. Don't want it to hang with the brake line. All right. We got a long journey ahead of us, about 188 miles or almost 3 hours of a drive, but we're gonna head up to AEO right now and get those forks done. Man, you come through that tiny little door and then you walk and you're like, oh, it opens up. How's it going, man? Good, how are you? I called the other day to bring up some forks for just a service. Set these down real quick. Truck. Oh man, I dig these throwback colors. Look at that. Cut right in half, white and blue. All right, just got done dropping the forks off. I also grabbed a sprocket and chain just to freshen this thing up. What a nice showroom in there. Definitely had to avert my eyes a little bit. This is also the same AEO Powersports that Joe came to buy his new Husqvarna TE250. So well done, Joe, well done. Luckily, I got a lot of stuff I got to do up here in Mesa today, so I'm gonna get doing that, and then I got to head back to the house. Now, while those forks are getting rebuilt, I can do some bead breaking, some tire lubing.
That's what she said.
Get your mind out of there. And I can do some moussing. So I got to break the beads off the wheels, then I have to lube up the tire mousse and the inside of the tire, and then do my best to shove those things in there. I don't have a dirt bike tire stand or anything, which would make life a lot easier. So we're just gonna ride the struggle bus with that guy. Let's see what we can get done. All right, so those of you who aren't familiar with these dirt bike wheels and tires, one, these wheels are really expensive. These XL Takasago rims are like $1,000 for a set or something like that. Your Warp 9s are $800 for two. They're pretty expensive, but they are strong. The inside, they're running a tube. I know there's tubeless out there and things like that, but they run a tube inside there. You drain all the air, you get the tube out of there, and then you have the tire, but you have to run a rim strip if you run tubeless. They come with rim locks, which is this little guy right here. I'll show you once I break the bead. There's like almost looks like a little clamshell in there. When you tighten this down, it tightens against the bead here, up against the sidewall of the rim. So we have to loosen this up so that when I break the beads, I can get the tire off there. And then we're going to need that because basically once the tube comes out, we have to block off this hole. And then this guy is going to basically take the place of that tube, and instead of air, you're running foam. Now, I definitely want to start away from the rim lock because I don't want to crush that thing. It doesn't seem that bad. There we go. Maybe this was just meant for dirt bike tires because I was having a heck of a time with those ATV tires. I definitely wish I had like a Rabaconda or something like that. It holds the wheel in the center. I don't have to like balance it by hand. Not as much of a struggle, but I have a feeling putting the tire mousse in will be. This is new territory. New territory for me. There we go. I should probably clean out the inside of the tire too. I don't know if you guys can see that in there. That little guy just pinches the bead right up against the wheel. So, let's carry on, shall we? All right, we're gonna read some directions here. Nitro Mousse is for off-road use only. Nitro Mousse is never to be used for on-road or on-highway use. Okay, all right, yeah, got it. Proper fitting rim lock. Here's the important part. Make sure you guys have a rim lock. Use all of the supplied lubricant when mounting a Nitro Mousse. Apply half of the tube to the inside of the tire and the other half to the outside of the mousse. All right, got it. Proper technique, correct tools. Yeah, just kind of ignore that one. Anyway, here's your Nitro Lube cooling gel. All right, Basically, all this stuff does is it spreads around and it keeps that thing from getting too hot and hardening up and melting or anything like that. And it keeps it from like fusing itself to the tire. I've seen that happen with tire blocks. They melt if they get too hot. When you blow a tire and then you end up running on just the blocks, you can actually melt the blocks together. That foam becomes really hard after that. It's almost like plastic. The gel will fully distribute after a few minutes of riding. Huh. Well, we'll see. So let's get to spreading. Oh yeah, okay, all right, yep. All right, well, we're just gonna start spreading it around. I'm gonna put most of it in the tire and then spread it around a bit. Let's see if I can get it spread around by hand. Keep rolling it, keep moving it. We're gonna put a bunch of this on the actual mousse itself, get it off my hand. Oh God, there's just no way around it. This looks ridiculous. Some guys, I've been watching some of the US AMA hard enduro stuff, and I watched some of those guys. I think Cody Webb does it, probably the other guys. They actually drill holes into the mousse with like a certain size socket, it looks like, or a certain size hole saw. And what that obviously does is it softens the feel of your tire mousse, which I'm sure is great for hard enduro, but probably not what we want. We want to run the higher pressure, especially at the speeds we run. Those guys are running hard enduro through the woods and rocks, and think of it like trials riding. So they want to lower their tire pressures because they have to run over rocks and ledges, and they need different type of traction than we do. So the next trick is going to be getting it into the tire and then around the actual rim and everything at the same time while trying to seat the bead, because I don't have a tube in there anymore, so I can't just blow it up and then seat the bead. I gotta kind of like crush everything over the wheel, compress the foam, and get it in there. So another interesting fact, when you order tire mousse, they actually ask you which tire you're running, because all the tire manufacturers run slightly different sizes. Okay, that wasn't so bad. I basically had to just force the Nitro Mousse up and over the edge of the rim. But now you guys can see there's that big gap there. I got it over the rim lock, but now I have to get this between the mousse and the rim lock and the wheel. So that's going to be the difficult part. I think once I start setting the bead, maybe that'll help feed it around. But it's basically like trying to put a tire on with an already inflated tube. All right, we got it in there, boys. It was a little bit of forcing, not a whole lot actually. Hey, no problem.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Now the only thing I'm doing now is making sure that it's seated all the way here before I tighten the rim lock down, because I don't want it to be like the bead crushed in, like right here. See how the bead's still kind of crushed in? I'm gonna work that out. Then I'm gonna tighten the bead lock, and then this thing should be ready to go. Okay, one of the last things I had to address before I move on to the rear tire. Don't worry about me sweating, it's getting hot out, okay? But we had to fill that valve stem hole, remember? So I actually went in and found some of this foam right here. It's got tape on the back. This is like a sticky sided foam. You get these with your, like my Shirai battery. Well, these come with it as little spacers. They've got a ton of pieces of foam in there. And all I did was I cut out a little plug, as you can see, and then I put it down in here. I've already got tape covering it, but down in here, I put it this side up, sticky side up, filling that little hole, and the foam kind of expands a little bit, so I plugged it in there. And all it does is it keeps most of that lube from getting up here and hitting this tape and then spreading around the tape, and the tape coming off, then you've got an exposed hole and you get dirt and all kinds of stuff in there, and it tears up the tire mousse. So I just used that little foam plug, stuffed it in there sticky side up, and then ran this Gorilla tape over the top of it, just a small strip, and then cut it so that the plug sticks to the tape and keeps it kind of in place. And hopefully this tape hangs on there the whole race. I don't know, we'll see. I'm experimenting, lay off me, all right? Cool. Okay, number one reason why I'm removing the sprocket is because we're going to replace it with this one. Yes, it's the same thing, which by the way, these are freaking expensive compared to ATVs. But we are going with a 49 tooth sprocket. I don't know if you guys can see that. 49 teeth versus this was a 52. So this was actually one taller than stock. And we were losing some top speed out of that. That was a very quick accelerating sprocket, but we would run out of gears really fast. So we're going to drop the rear sprocket just a little bit, and then we should get a little bit more top end speed out of this thing so it can keep up with everybody. You can see a little bit of difference there. Well, well, well. Look what just showed up. That's right. We just got our forks back. Now, I already popped it open, sorry. No unboxing, but I haven't been able to unwrap these things just yet. I just got back from work. So let's yank out these forks, which just got fully serviced, basically rebuilt by AEO Powersports up in Mesa. Basically just a bunch of seals, fresh oil. They went through, checked all the O-rings and everything inside, and these things are fully ready to go. Something cool that I just found out, by the way, on the back of the fork here, I don't know if you guys can see all that, but you basically have all your specs and settings for these forks. I just noticed that when I pulled this thing out. So that's pretty dang cool. So we've got our standard pressures for your 125 SX, your 250 SX, all the way through your 450 factory, Rockstar editions and all that. And your clickers for your compression, you've got 12. Clickers for rebound, you've got 18 clicks. That's pretty cool. So let's get these things out of the box, and we're gonna put these things right back on the rig, and then I can stab that front tire back on there. I got the block, or I got the mousse in there. It's a little more labor intensive than I thought they were going to be, but I got it in there. The rear tire in particular, the front wasn't too bad, but definitely need a dirt bike tire stand. All right, let's get it out. Clean. Oh, God. Bubble wrap. I already put the rear wheel on the bike, mainly because I didn't want you guys to see me struggling. Because I did. Anyway, it's on there, but now all I'm gonna do is just clean the threads on the front axle and re-grease this thing and send it through. Look at those nice new Nitro Mousse stickers. How cool does that look? All right, and then the factory manual says to torque this to 25.8 foot-pounds. We'll call it just about 26. All right, then what I gotta do is I have to set this axle in here. So I gotta leave these pinch bolts loose, because this axle, even though you've torqued it down, these forks need to float to where they want to sit. Spin this thing, hit the brakes a couple times, knock it back and forth, and then that wheel's going to float kind of where it wants to. I got to make sure I put this brake caliper on first, though. Now that we got our depth set, I can go ahead and torque these down. I think it's 12.5 up here and 8.9. We'll call it 9 foot-pounds down here. I'm assuming they don't want to pinch this one too hard because you've got all those inner workings in here. So let's get it. All right, KTM is all done. We've got the tire mousse installed. We've got a new chain and sprocket installed. I didn't show you guys that. I just showed you the new sprocket, but I added a new chain. We'll keep the old chain as a spare just in case we need it. We have the new fuel tank installed. The only thing really left to do after tightening everything down and making sure it's good to go is we need to go for a fuel mileage test. So I'm gonna go for a long ride, but that's gonna be the next video. So you guys are gonna have to come back for that one. This is it for this one. Got everything installed. This thing is pretty much set for the desert at this point. Just got to make sure that those fresh forks are good to go. I mean, they're probably going to be just fine, but I definitely need to make sure we can see how much fuel mileage we can get out of this thing. We're guessing maybe 85 miles. That'd be great. So next thing I got to do is take it out for a ride. So you guys need to come back and watch that one.